Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode of Total Drama Multiverse Reloaded. Well, I say the penultimate episode, but really this is the penultimate episode of the game show. On Friday, we will have the finale release where we will see who is the winner. However, just like last season, we will have that will be episode 26, but just like last season, we will have episode 27 be a huge mega lore episode that will release on Monday. Finally, whoops, I just dropped something. Finally, we will have on Wednesday, so this time next week, we will have a bonus episode release just like last season where I rank all the characters that appeared this season, which is a hell of a lot more because we got season 1 characters, villains, the contestants, the hosts, all that stuff. I will rank them all by how I think I handled them. So, yeah. But before that, and then also we'll start season 3, not that Friday, but probably maybe that Monday, or I might take Thanksgiving break to plan. We'll see how it goes. Regardless, let's get into it. So, our pre-challenge section. Alright, so for this, I think that we'll see each of the 3 of them in confessional, talking about the fact that they've made it this far. Of all the 23 people to play the game, and Tristan coming back, so technically 24 spots, they have made it to the final 3. And I think that we'd start with Ashes, where he'd be like, he'd probably say some stuff about how he truly believes his chances of making it to the final 2 are really high, but he worries about winning because he's aligned with Sky, and Sky is incredibly broken. So I think that he's starting to worry about that. He also talks about how he's kind of not really feeling his wish anymore, because his original wish was to just become the Pokemon Master, but he thinks that would kind of be a cheap way to do it, so he's starting to second guess that as well. We then cut to an anxiety-filled Sky, who is basically having a breakdown in the confessional, and she basically says that she truly thought that throughout the season she would find a way to make her mother proud of her and to make everyone like her, and that she would be the leader she knows she can be. But now she's at the end and most people don't like her, don't trust her, and now she truly believes she just has to win so that she can make people like her with her wish. And finally, we see what perhaps would be the most emotional one, which is Patrice's. And it would start off happy about, or with her talking about how much fun she had in the game show. Obviously, she'd talk about Lena and Lauren and Tristan and, of course, Ezekiel. But then she would say that Ezekiel reminds her of her old friend Nate. And Nate, or Nat, however you say it, I'm going to say Nate, though, was the guy who came out and mauled Crazy Dave in the finale of the last season. If y'all remember, they were in the Plants vs. Zombies reality, and there were only 3 humans really left. And one of them was Nate, who had become a zombie right before Luz and Monica had showed up. One of them was Dave, who got bitten by Nate, and one of them was Patrice. Now, Crazy Dave is, well, she calls him Uncle Dave, because Crazy Dave is Patrice's last, or was, I guess, Patrice's last family member that was alive. And Nate, who is very similar to Ezekiel, just a little smarter. I think that they probably would have gotten together. I don't know if they do in the comics. I don't think they do. I haven't read them in a while. Because yes, there's Plants vs. Zombies comics, but they would have gotten together. And when she starts talking about them and remembering them, she starts crying. And she says, but she promises them that she will win this and she will get them the cure that they need. So yeah, we kind of come to our challenge section after that. There's not too much else. The only thing I want to say is that during this challenge, Ash has made the decision that he's not just going to ride Sky. He's going to try to get Sky out of here so that he has an easier time with a powerless 13-year-old girl or 14 or whatever she is than a 18-year-old, probably 17, who has an absurd amount of powers, like way too many powers. But trust me, she's gonna need them. So Lauren comes up. I brought her up onto the thing for this challenge because it's a big one. She tells them all to come to the beach where they first started their first challenge. Remember, the first challenge was when they had to drag the stuff, the supplies across the beach, and then they had to crawl under the muddy, well, I guess kind of wet, sandy, barbed wire and all that. She's like, do y'all know why I brought y'all here? And they're like, no. And she's like, well, this is actually going to be the first part of your challenge today. Because this challenge is Challenge 46, All-Star Round. Players must go through a ton of challenges from the season in an all-out race for anything but last place. That's right, there will be zero voting for the rest of the season. Instead, whoever loses this is gone. They start on the beach where they must crawl under muddy or sandy barbed wire. They must then climb up the middle peak and stay in the ring for 5 minutes without being pushed off. You then must run to the production tent where you must play through the corn maze and gather a key to escape. No Grim Foxy because he's busy, sadly. After that, they must run through the Buckies as Lauren, dressed as Bucky, chases them. After that, they must run up either the left or middle peaks and sit on top of one of the ice thrones. Remember, guys, these are all from old challenges. Also, remember that the place is snowing, so all of the peaks are still freezing, right? That wasn't just for that one episode. The whole place is kind of snowed in, but mainly the mountain peaks are the only parts where it really matters. They must then speed through 3 stages from the Why Are You Here challenge. Those 3 stages being stage 1, endurance and strength, where they must balance on wobbly poles over a mud pit while holding 2 heavy sandbags for 5 minutes. Number 2 is skill and patience, where they must hit 10 targets from different distances, and they're all moving, so they're more extreme versions of these. And stage 3 will be mental and speed, where they originally had to solve a Rubik's Cube that's 9 by 9. Now they have to solve one that's 18 by 18. And stage 4 is a social stage, which all the social challenges I didn't include, as well as some of the physical challenges. I wasn't going to do every challenge. The social ones wouldn't work, because I literally don't have access to the eliminated contestants right now. Well, they're busy. So, yeah. After that, finally, they must make it to the elimination campfire and grab their marshmallow to secure a spot in the finale. Fail to grab a marshmallow and you're gone. Also, by the way, no super speed or teleportation, because Sky would just beat everything in 5 minutes. So, yeah. How I'm going to do this is whoever's in the lead, I'm going to put it in the front of the tier. So, for example, say Patrice is in the lead right now, Ash is in second, Sky is in third. That's how I'm going to do it. And then I'll kind of explain all their spots. But right now, they all start at the same area for the beach part. So, Lauren yells go, and they all jump under they jump onto the ground and they go under the muddy barbed wire. Now, I don't think anyone would have too much trouble here. I think that they'd all, one, have so much adrenaline and be so, like, experienced with these challenges to where it wouldn't really affect them. But two, I just think that Patrice has been through way more gross stuff. Sky is Sky, and I think Ash will just be able to endure it pretty well. But I think as we come out of this first section, Sky climbs out to see that while she did beat Ash, she didn't beat Patrice. And this pisses her off as Patrice sticks out her tongue while running. So Patrice starts running up the mountain, and so does Sky, with Ash not too far behind. And it takes them a while, but they end up getting to the middle peak. Now, right as Patrice gets in, Sky lunges at her, and oh, by the way, no weapons are allowed, so Sky can't pull out her rift swords, but she wouldn't do that anyway because she's not trying to kill Patrice. Remember what those things did to freaking Malik. Anyways, she uses her rift energy and she puts it through her hands and she punches Patrice in the stomach, sending her flying off the mountain. By the way, they have access to one-up mushrooms, okay? They're going all out using the one-up mushrooms for this because they've been saving them, well, I guess I can just say she because she's the only one there. Lauren's been saving them for this challenge, which is why she hasn't done too many challenges that can result in serious injury recently because they don't have infinite access because there's no rift gun. So Patrice is sent off the mountain while Sky is just chilling in there, and Ash walks in. Now, Ash walks in, and Sky's like, all right, this is good. It's just going to be me and you in the finale. But I think that this is where Ash goes, yeah. But he waits until, by the way, they can just be anywhere on the peak. He waits until Sky sits down on the edge, because they have to wait for 5 minutes, so she's trying to rest. And he goes up behind her, and he knows that she's going to be full on going after him after this, but he kicks the crap out of her and sends her flying down the side of the mountain, but she yells, fuck you. Well, whenever she lands in the water, she sees Patrice being fed a one-up mushroom by Lauren, and Patrice flips her off as she runs back up the island. At this point, everyone's for themselves. No one's working on each other at all. We're working with each other at all. But by the time Patrice and Sky can get up to the top, Ash has already claimed his 5 minutes and begins running down the side of the mountain. By the way, when it comes to the cold, I don't think the cold would really affect too many people here. There's nobody like Tristan, for example, left where I think Tris wasn't able to handle the cold. I think in canon, all three of these people did. I mean, Ash didn't do too great, but that's mainly because he was hypnotized following Daisy of all people's orders. Anyways, as Patrice and Sky fight each other at the top, which is a pretty hard fight for Patrice, but I think Patrice is strategic enough and able to use her environment enough to where she's able to get Sky off for a little bit. And while she does, she's able to set some traps as she did for zombies back in the day. But Ash is on his way to the production tent so that he could go do the corn maze. And around the time he gets there, I think Patrice would finish her 5 minutes as Sky lunges at her. Which, by the way, if two people are in the ring, it doesn't pause the timer or anything. Your timer is going until you get out of the ring. So Patrice laughs and runs, and at this point, Sky is tweaking out. So she ends up having to wait her 5 minutes while Patrice runs down the mountain. Ash eventually makes it to the production tent, which, by the way, is really, really far away. But he makes it around the same time Sky's finishing her 5 minutes, and Patrice is like at the end of the mountain. And he puts on one of the 3 VR headsets and goes into the VR world and starts running through the starts running through the maze. Now, in this maze, obviously Grim isn't here, but you're allowed to go for any of the keys and just escape. If you get all 5 keys and go to the main area, where you could get the advantage in the original version of this challenge, where you could get the Vanny mask, nothing's in there. There's no reason to do that. But you still are able to respawn, which means that if multiple people are in there, they're still able to sabotage you. So, what I think happens is, I think while Ash is doing this and trying to find it, Patrice ends up going into the VR world. And Patrice decides that she needs to slow down Ash because she knows Ash has done a lot of territory. So, already, which he hasn't found a key yet, though. So, she ends up listening for Ash because she can hear Ash running through. And she pulls out her pocket knife, which she just always has on her. And she's not allowed to use it on Ash, but she's still allowed to use it. So she starts cutting through the corn maze, which is really easy considering it's a digital corn maze. And she ends up making her way to Ash, where she tackles Ash. And as Ash is trying to pull her off, she is able to strangle him. And he, quote-unquote, dies and then respawns on the other side of the maze where he started. So he has to kind of make his way through the same area again without getting mixed up. But I don't think Ash would be able to do very well here. Because I think that Patrice would just keep slicing through, trying to find keys. And anytime she would run into Ash, it would just be game over for Ash. Just because normally in this scenario, you got like a 16-year-old boy versus a 13-year-old girl. Obviously, the 13-year-old girl is going to be cooked in almost every scenario. But here, Patrice is so much more battle-trained and so physically adept to these kind of things. I mean, she can just view Ash as a zombie, and she's gone through a lot of that. She's also trained really hard, so it might not look it in the picture, but she's pretty freaking strong just on her own. So, well, despite not having any powers. So I think that she should be able to at least have a relatively fair fight with Ash each time. Maybe Ash gets the upper hand on Patrice in one of those fights. Regardless, though, it doesn't take long before Sky joins in with them. And at this point, Ash and Patrice really still haven't made that much progress. They've been sabotaging each other. So while Sky sneaks past them and avoids them, she's able to find herself a key. But she doesn't just leave yet. She finds the red key, which, by the way, each key gets a corresponding gate. If you tried to put the red key in the green gate, it wouldn't work. But she decides, wait a minute, I have a good idea. So she continues slipping past them, and while she's not able to teleport her stuff, with them just fighting each other over and over and over again and forgetting about her, she's able to eventually find all 5 keys. And what she does is she is still a good person, so she's not going to leave them trapped in the realm, which would be if she took all 5 keys, because they can't take the headset off until they free themselves, because it's not like a normal VR. So she leaves 2 keys, but she opens the main cellar in the middle, throws those 2 keys down there, and shuts it, and takes the other 3 keys with her, and leaves while taking 2 of the keys with her. So when she takes off the VR, the keys are in her pocket, which doesn't really make sense for a normal VR, but this isn't a normal VR, okay? So eventually, Ash and Patrice hear the gate open, and they're like, shit, and they both start running through the maze. As they do, Sky makes her way to the Buckies, where she has to get through both of the broken down Buckies without getting caught by Lauren dressed as Bucky. Now, if Lauren catches you, which just means tags you in any way, then you have to start over from the production tent. So you have to go all the way to the production tent and come back and then try to go through them again. So Sky has to be very cautious here. However, I do still think that Lauren would be lingering in the shadows and be able to catch Sky off guard And just before Sky overreacts and pulls out her sword, she gets tagged, and then she realizes, wait, it's just Lauren. But remember, she's really, really on edge, so she rages a little bit and starts marching her way back, and she starts grumbling about stupid lack of teleportation. So she's marching her way back to the place as I think they start to realize, Lauren and Ash start to realize, because they decided to make a little bit of a truce so that they both don't just get absolutely cooked by Sky, because they've both, did I say Lauren and Ash? I meant Patrice and Ash, my bad. But they both realize, they have a talk about it, and they realize that if Sky gets to the finale, it is going to be so hard for them. So hard. So they make a little truce here. And they realize that she's definitely done something with the keys. And Ash starts to freak out that they're going to be trapped in there. But Patrice smacks him into reality once more. Well, I guess virtual reality, but you know what I mean. And she says there has to be, she wouldn't do that. She's too kind of a person. There has to be somewhere where she's hidden them. And that's where she gets the idea, because she saw the middle of the maze whenever in the original Grim Foxy challenge, just her and Lena were killed by Grim right there. So she runs over and Ash follows her, and she ends up opening it, and she sees both the keys, and they both make their way out. And when they make their way out, they take the VR headsets off, and they see Sky running away because she had been tagged again, and she had to go back to the production tent again, so she's running away from the tent and back to Lauren. So eventually, Sky makes it through, and makes it through the first Buc-ee's and gets to the second Buc-ee's through the back door. And as Lauren, who by the way is like crawling through the vents and stuff and jumping over roofs, Lauren is kind of a creep. I mean, she's doing the similar stuff to what she did in season 1 whenever she was like sneaking through the facility. So it's not like this is unrealistic for her or even abnormal for her. So she lunges at Sky, but Sky moves out of the way and slams the door in Lauren's face, which would probably hurt, but be a pretty comedic moment. And as she does, Ash and Patrice come out from behind her and grab her arms. And as Sky tries to break free, Lauren kicks the door down, now out of anger, and she tags Sky by smacking her in the face with a Buc-ee's hand, but still. And Sky crashes out and then has to go back to the production tent again, while Patrice and Ash are like, yay! And then realize, wait, Lauren's right there. And they start screaming and running. But I think that both of them are able to probably survive this. I think Lauren just definitely got beat up quite a bit. I think she would put up a good fight, but and she also promised not to do any more favoritism, because it's the final 3 now. She's not going to let Patrice through at this point. So I could see there being like a second where she almost hits Patrice, but it doesn't happen. And both of them make their way through. And once they make it out the front door of the second Buc-ee's, Lauren has to stop. But she turns around and smiles. She like 360s her neck because she's able to do that, and smiles as she hears Sky enter through the back door of the first Buc-ee's again, or the front door of the first Buc-ee's. They have to go front door of first Buc-ee's, back door of first Buc-ee's, back door of second Buc-ee's, front door of second Buc-ee's. That's how they have to do it. So Ash and Patrice make their way, and they're laughing, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to do this. We're going to take down Sky. So they both decide to split up and each take one of the peaks and sit on the ice thrones. One has to go on the left peak, one has to go on the right peak, just so that they don't have to waste time. So I think that as they trek through, Sky came prepared this time. So whenever she opened that door for Lauren, it was actually a diversion. She had already snuck in before through a broken window, because it's kind of the crappier one. Because remember, there was 2 teams that did this challenge, and this is the crappier of the 2 teams. I've already been going for 24 minutes. This is wild. And whenever she opens the door, or whenever Lauren comes and sees the door open, she walks up front and doesn't see that there's been a whole trap. And right when she rocks over a rope, all four corners of the restaurant, or I guess not restaurant, but gas station, I guess, all have ropes like catapult out of them. And how Sky did this is she was able to hook up. She's really smart, guys. She's kind of like not a Mary Sue, but abilities wise, she can do pretty much anything. So what she did is she took the cameras that were in each of the four corners of the store and she kind of transformed them into makeshift harpoons. And there was nothing about attacking Lauren, so they all have ropes that are attached to big spears, and they come and they stab through both of Lauren's arms and both of Lauren's legs, kind of feeling like a bit of a spring lock because Lauren's still in the Buckies. And as she's screaming, obviously Sky's still not going to just let her die. What she probably wouldn't die, she'd just be severely injured. But she throws her one of her own one-up mushrooms as Sky runs through and ends up making it through. Now, Lauren hates Sky at this point, and she's the host. So, yeah, not good for Sky. Sky decides to take the left mountain. She doesn't really know who went up where. Which Ash went up left, Patrice went up right. And as Patrice is able to finish hers and start coming down the right mountain, because all you have to do is go sit on it, not for any like extended period of time, Ash goes to sit on his before Sky comes out and clocks him in the face and calls him a traitor. And Ash is like, hey, it's nothing personal. I gotta do what's best for me in the game. And Sky punches him again. And Ash comes to the edge, and Sky just says, all right, well, I'll do what's best for me. And she grabs him by the shirt as he's about to fall, and she freaking chucks him into the ocean as hard as she can, using rift energy as well to make him go like flying into the ocean. She then goes and sits down on the ice throne. Now, this obviously brings Sky above Ash, but she's still behind Patrice. And by the time she makes her way down to the stages from the Why Are You Here challenge, Patrice is already on the final one of them, because she, I think, would be really good at the endurance and strength one, where she would have to hold the bags, the heavy sandbags on the wobbly poles over a mud pit. I think she'd be pretty good strength-wise and balance-wise. On stage 2, I think a slingshot would actually probably be Patrice's weapon of choice in most scenarios. I could see her character, I could see that thing in her character. She probably has the slingshot in that backpack she always carries around, her survival bag. But as for mental and speed, yeah, she's smart, but she's not smart 18 by 18 Rubik's Cube wise. So she's really, really struggling on that. So much so that I actually believe Sky's able to probably fail the first section a few times, mainly because of her nerves. But she locks in and she does the accuracy stuff as well. She has her own assault rifle for a reason. She's good with guns and weapons that are long range in general. But I think Sky's able to pretty much catch up to her on the 18 by 18 Rubik's Cube. However, guys, for someone with no experience, I cannot imagine how long it would take to solve an 18 by 18 Rubik's Cube. In fact, I think that it's so hard that Lauren, even though she hates Sky, she has to be fair. So she, at the 3 18 by 18 Rubik's Cube stations, she puts instructions on certain techniques and stuff, which I'm not going to go into those techniques. I have no idea what they'd be. But eventually, it takes so long that Ash is able to swim all the way back to shore, catch his bearings, and climb up the mountain, get up the ice, get up to the ice throne, get all the way down, and I think that he'd be able to actually get to the Rubik's Cube before Patrice and Sky. However, unfortunately for him, I do believe Sky would be the first one to finish, run over to the elimination. She would run over to the elimination ceremony or the campfire ceremony area to grab her marshmallow before pissed off Lauren tries to stop her. You see, Lauren's only been a host for half a season. She doesn't really know the whole professionalism part. So, out of pure anger, Lauren pushes her over and gets in a full-on fight. And out of Sky's anger, instead of just pushing her off and then going and grabbing it, she decides, all right, you want to fight, let's fight. Now, Patrice, who had just finished hers, tries to break up the fight, but they both tell her to shut up, including Lauren, who will end up feeling bad about it, and kind of Sky too, but we'll get to that more in the finale, because Patrice is like, oh, whatever, and is able to get around them fighting, which Sky is still not using any weapons, not teleporting, not using super speed, because she genuinely doesn't want to be disqualified by the host, but she's still letting her anger out with all the powers that she's been allowed to use throughout the challenge. And Lauren is just really freakishly strong, but she's not Sky strong. So after beating the shit out of Lauren, Sky starts taunting Lauren, who's not being like, oh, I'm a wuss and stuff. I'm so sorry. But she's on the ground. But she's still yelling her own curse words, and they're yelling at each other. But Sky sees out of the corner of her eye, Ash is able to finish his cube and starts running towards the finish line. Now they're both pretty much the same distance-wise. So it comes down to who I think would be faster, and I think that they both reach out to grab the last marshmallow, and Sky grabs it. Sky grabs it, and Ash grabs it out of her hand and eats it, and he's like, I win. And Sky's like, no, that's bullshit. And Lauren gets up and is like, oh, fuck you, Sky. But yeah, I gotta be honest, Ash, that's not how I explained it. And Ash is sent home. Sorry. I think that Lauren would use every fiber of her being not to eliminate Sky here, because she wants to so bad. But I think that she knows that if Chris found out about that kind of thing, she could get her hosting privileges taken away. Which means that we've come to... Yeah, he's eliminated. But in our post-challenge section, I just want to talk about Patrice and Sky. I think Patrice is frustrated that Sky made it, but she believes that if Lauren can have at least somewhat of a fight against Sky, then she can too. And she trusts that Lauren will maybe not rig the final challenge, but definitely make it a lot harder for Sky, because Lauren now hates Sky. As for Sky, Sky does not care. She's full locked in mode. She doesn't care what anyone thinks, she does care secretly, but this is what she's saying in confessional. She doesn't care what happens to her, what happens to Lauren, what happens to Patrice. Nobody. Nothing matters except winning at this point. Now, this is honestly pretty sad for Sky, because Sky started out, even before this season, living on the island with Patrice and Lauren, as well as Ezekiel, Chef, and Chris. And to be honest, they were all pretty good friends. I mean, the main reason Patrice and Ezekiel interacted was because Patrice sat down with Ezekiel because Sky was busy being the Rift Beacon. And then Lauren obviously had to have gotten along at some point because they were on the same island for 5 months with barely anything going on. So, yeah, also I think they'd have quite a bit of their nerdier things in common, because Sky is a bit of a nerd, a cringe lord, kind of like someone who's really into anime. I mean, y'all saw that with her introductory episode in the finale of last season. Well, not the finale, I guess episode 29 of last season, which was the lore finale. But speaking of finales, I cannot wait to get into our final two. Let me take everyone else off of here. Ash and Lauren. Okay. Patrice and Sky. Guys, these were my final two picks since season 1 wasn't even over. There's a reason they were introduced in season 1. I love Sky so much. I have an action figure of her in real life. She's my favorite Fortnite skin along with Beef Boss. Sometimes I might even consider her more. And I really love how much character I've given to her, because we know a little bit about her personality, but really, Sky doesn't really do much of anything in the Fortnite storyline. Meanwhile, with Patrice, I think the main reason I like both of these characters so much, actually, is because both of them have personalities, and they have stuff about them that is well known, at least to their niche communities. Well, Fortnite's not niche, but you know what I mean. They both really don't, they have so much they can expand upon. And I think that knowing that I was able to kind of make them my own characters, and that's how I was able to ship Patrice and Ezekiel, and how I was able to get Sky to have all the drama with Hope and Jones, because in the real timeline, Hope and Jones, like in the actual Fortnite storyline, Hope and Jones aren't even together. Sky is a completely different person. Also, I'm pretty sure Sky's like 25 in canon, which definitely wouldn't work for this. She's 17 here, I think, is the age I've landed on. But overall, I have absolutely loved this season way more than last season, and I loved last season too. I cannot wait to go into the final 3 seasons that I have planned. But first, I cannot wait to catch y'all in the next one on Friday at 3 o'clock to see who will win Total Drama Multiverse Reloaded. Sasha leaned on the balcony of the castle that overlooked the entirety of the ruined city. She could have sworn that she could see a bunch of little things in the distance coming towards her, but she really couldn't tell what it was. She all of a sudden felt a huge hand on her shoulder, and at first she just thought it was Grimes' hand. So she said, "What did I say about not touching me?" And she turns around to see that it isn't Grime, but it is instead Andreas. Andreas talks to Sasha about how impressed he is that she was able to not only manipulate her friends and take down an entire team of heroes that have given multiversal threats trouble before, but that she's able to bring the stones in the Calamity Box right to where they need to be. And Sasha at first is scared that Andreas is going to try to attack her, but instead Andreas is like, "How about I tell you something? All those little dots you see in the distance are the heroes." And Sasha's like, "There's way too many of them to be the heroes. I just fought them." And Andreas is like, No. Those are hundreds and hundreds of heroes. And you and your army will be able to do nothing against them. Remember, guys, not only is it all the people that I put in that little heroes tier, but it's like all the Avengers, all the Justice League, a bunch of murder drones and Sonic characters, and freaking everybody is here, bro. It's Smash Bros. Speaking of Smash Bros, half the Smash Bros roster is here too. That isn't like villains or just weaklings. So yeah. Andreas says though, "How about you join us? We all get what we want, and you don't have to rule over Amphibia when you can rule over realities, millions of realities." And Sasha likes the sound of that for sure. She's definitely a controlling type. So Sasha shakes hands with Andreas and officially joins the team of villains. Little did she know, though, this was just step one of their master plan. Also, by the way, hearing how Andreas was impressed with the way she hurt her friends and backstabbed him and all of that, it didn't really help Sasha feel good. She's still having second thoughts and really not liking the fact that her greatest enemies are her best friends or her ex-best friends now. So the villains all come in to the castle. All of the ones you see here come into the castle, and they ready the castle for a all-out war.